Rejected by blood. The hard truth about family betrayal. Imagine this. The people who were supposed to love you unconditionally, your own family, have turned their backs on you. Maybe it was sudden, or maybe it happened so gradually that you barely noticed until one day you realized you were an outsider in your own bloodline. The ones who should have been your safe haven became the ones who hurt you the most. Few betrayals cut deeper than family rejection. It leaves you questioning everything you're worth, your choices, even your identity. You wonder if you said the wrong thing, made the wrong move, or if you were simply never enough for them. Society tells us that family is everything, that blood ties are unbreakable, but reality proves otherwise. Some families turn cold. Some push you away for being different, for thinking independently, for breaking the mold they tried to fit you into. Others project their own insecurities onto you, making you the scapegoat for their unhealed wounds. This kind of rejection doesn't just hurt, it lingers. Unlike a falling out with a friend or a breakup with a partner, you can't easily walk away from the idea of family. It's woven into your identity, into the stories you've been told about who you are. And when that foundation cracks, it can feel like your whole world is crumbling. But what if I told you that you don't have to let this pain define you? That family rejection, no matter how brutal, doesn't have the power to break you unless you give it that power. This is where Stoicism, an ancient philosophy rooted in resilience and self-mastery, offers a path forward. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, once wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." At first, this might seem impossible. How can you not feel harmed when the people who should have loved you turned away? But Stoicism teaches a radical truth. Their inability to accept you does not diminish your value. This journey isn't about pretending the pain isn't real. It's about rising above it. By the end of this, you'll understand why family rejection happens, why it affects you so deeply, and most importantly, how to break free from its hold. Because at the end of the day, family may be tied to you by blood, but they do not define who you are. You do. Section 1. Why family betrayal cuts the deepest. There's a reason why family rejection stings more than any other kind of betrayal. It's not just about hurt feelings. It's about something much deeper, something wired into our very biology. From the moment we're born, we are programmed to seek security, love, and acceptance from our family. They are supposed to be our first source of comfort, our first teachers, the ones who guide us through life. When that bond is severed, it feels unnatural, almost like a violation of something sacred. Think about it. If a stranger dismisses you, it might annoy you for a moment, but you move on. If a friend turns their back on you, it hurts, but friends come and go. But when it's your own family, the people who raised you, the ones who share your blood, the ones society insists should stand by you no matter what, it shakes the foundation of everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and belonging. Part of the reason this pain is so intense is because of expectation. We don't expect much from strangers, and we know that friendships can fade. But family, we are told that family is forever, that they will always love us no matter what. So when they reject us, the betrayal doesn't just hurt, it shatters the core belief that family is supposed to be different from everyone else. Then there's the psychological impact. Studies show that social rejection activates the same areas of the brain as physical pain. That means being pushed away by family doesn't just feel painful, it is experienced in your mind and body like a physical wound. And unlike a bruise or a broken bone, emotional wounds don't heal on their own. They replay in your head, keep you up at night, and leave scars that affect how you see yourself and the world around you. Family rejection can make you feel like you are unworthy of love, like something is fundamentally wrong with you, and that's the most dangerous part. If you let it, it can erode your self-esteem, making you believe that if even your own blood doesn't accept you, who else ever will? But here's the truth. Their rejection is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of them, their limitations, their fears, their inability to love you the way you deserve. The pain may feel unbearable now, but it is not permanent. The key to breaking free from it is understanding that the people who reject you were never the ones meant to define your value in the first place. This is where Stoicism offers wisdom that can completely change the way you see this pain. Section 2. The Stoic View on Family and Emotional Pain. Stoicism isn't about ignoring pain, it's about transforming it. It teaches that suffering doesn't come from external events, but from our perception of those events. That means the real source of our pain isn't necessarily our family's rejection, but the meaning we attach to it. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most well-known Stoic philosophers, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is one of the most powerful lessons Stoicism has to offer. You cannot control what your family does. You cannot force them to love you, to accept you, or to treat you the way you deserve. But you can control how you respond to it. Most people let rejection define them. They either crumble under the weight of it, or spend their entire lives chasing the approval of people who have already made up their minds about them. But a Stoic does something different. A Stoic understands that external circumstances, whether good or bad, are irrelevant to inner peace. The only thing that matters is your own mindset. Think about it. If someone insults you, does that insult actually harm you? Or does it only hurt because you believe it to be true? The same principle applies to family rejection. If you believe that their rejection means you are unworthy, you will suffer. But if you understand that their actions are a reflection of them, not you, then their rejection loses its power. Another key Stoic principle is the idea that suffering is a test. Epictetus, another great Stoic thinker, once said, "Difficulties show a person's character. The way your family treats you is beyond your control. But how you respond to that treatment is entirely in your hands. Do you allow their rejection to destroy you? Or do you use it as an opportunity to strengthen yourself, to cultivate resilience, to prove that you are not defined by their approval?" Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, believed that people are often cruel or unkind, not because they are evil, but because they are ignorant or trapped by their own suffering. Your family's rejection may not be about you at all. It may be about their own fears, insecurities, or inability to break free from the expectations they were raised with. Understanding this doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you see that their rejection is not proof of your unworthiness. It is simply a symptom of their own limitations. Stoicism teaches that you don't need validation from anyone, not even family, to live a good life. The only thing you need is mastery over your own mind. And when you truly grasp that, no rejection, no betrayal, no pain can shake you. This isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending you don't care. It's about recognizing that your pain does not define you, that your worth is not determined by anyone else. That family, though important, is not the sole measure of love or belonging in your life. Once you accept this, you'll start to see rejection not as a curse, but as a lesson in self-reliance, a lesson in resilience, a lesson in choosing peace over pain. Because in the end, the only approval you truly need is your own. Section 3. Understanding why family rejects you. Family rejection is one of the hardest things to make sense of. You might replay moments in your head, searching for a reason, a moment where things went wrong. But the truth is, rejection rarely happens for one simple reason. It's often a tangled mix of expectations, insecurities, and generational patterns that have nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. One of the harshest lessons in life is realizing that people don't always reject you because of something you did. Sometimes they reject you because of who they are, because of their fears, their inability to accept change, or their own unhealed wounds. 1. The nature of human flaws. Envy, ego, and fear. Many family conflicts come from unspoken jealousy, deep-seated fears, or pride that no one wants to admit. Maybe you've outgrown the expectations they had for you. Maybe you've become independent in a way that unsettles them. Or maybe you refuse to conform to the traditions and values they cling to. When someone sees you living differently, it forces them to confront their own choices, and that can make people uncomfortable. For some parents, seeing their child succeed where they failed is painful. For some siblings, watching you carve out a path they never had the courage to take breeds resentment. Instead of celebrating your growth, they reject you because your existence challenges their beliefs about themselves. They would rather push you away than face their own inadequacies. 2. The role of expectations. The invisible chains of family. Families, whether they realize it or not, often place invisible expectations on their members. You're expected to follow certain traditions, maintain specific beliefs, or behave in a way that upholds the family's image. When you break free from those expectations, whether by choosing a different career, questioning their values, or simply setting boundaries, you become a problem. Some families function like a closed system, where every member plays a role. There's the responsible one, the troublemaker, the caretaker, the scapegoat. If you've always been seen as the obedient one, and suddenly you start asserting yourself, it disrupts the entire dynamic. Instead of adapting, they reject the change. 3. Generational trauma. The inherited pain of the past. A lot of family rejection isn't even personal, it's generational. Parents pass down their own wounds, fears, and insecurities. They were shaped by the families that raised them, and unless they made a conscious effort to break free, they likely carried the same unhealthy patterns forward. Maybe your parents were never shown love, so they don't know how to express it to you. Maybe they were raised in a household where emotions were seen as weakness, so they dismiss your feelings. Maybe they lived their whole lives in survival mode, so they struggle to accept your desire for more. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot expect people to give us what they do not have. A broken person cannot offer unconditional love. An insecure person cannot celebrate your success. Understanding this doesn't mean excusing their actions, but it helps you realize that their rejection isn't necessarily about you. It's about their own limitations. 4. The myth of unconditional love. We grow up believing that family love is unconditional, but that's not always the case. In many families, love is given with conditions, whether spoken or unspoken. I will love you if you obey. I will accept you if you follow the rules. I will support you if you don't challenge me. But true love isn't something that should be earned or bargained for. If someone withholds love, manipulates you with guilt, or treats you as disposable the moment you stop meeting their expectations, then that was never love in the first place. This is a hard truth to accept. But once you do, you free yourself. You stop chasing approval. You stop trying to fix something that was broken long before you even got here. And you realize that rejection, painful as it is, can also be the first step toward building a life where your worth isn't dependent on anyone else. Now, The question is, how do you deal with that betrayal without letting it consume you? That's where Stoic wisdom becomes your greatest tool. Section 4. Lessons from Stoicism on dealing with betrayal. When family rejects you, your first instinct might be to fight for their approval, to prove your worth, or to make them see that they're wrong about you. But what if you didn't need to? What if you could find peace regardless of their actions? Stoicism teaches that pain doesn't come from what happens to us, but from how we interpret what happens to us. If you believe rejection is a personal failure, it will feel like one. But if you see it as an opportunity to cultivate strength, it transforms from a curse into a lesson. 1. Acceptance. You cannot control their actions, only your response. One of the core principles of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control, the idea that some things are within your control and some things are not, the thoughts, actions, and beliefs of others. Completely outside your control, your own mindset and reaction, that's where your power lies. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This means that no matter how painful their rejection is, you must remind yourself, I do not control them. I only control how I respond. Instead of asking, why don't they accept me? Ask, how can I free myself from needing their acceptance? 2. Emotional detachment. Freeing yourself from their approval. Most of our suffering comes from wanting something from others: love, respect, validation. But what if you trained yourself to need none of it? Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." True freedom means letting go of the need for others to approve of you, even family. It means recognizing that you are already complete, already worthy, already whole, whether they acknowledge it or not. 3. Building resilience. Turning pain into strength. A Stoic does not avoid hardship. They use it. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." If family rejection has caused you pain, it means you have an opportunity to become stronger. How? By seeing it as a test. Every time you feel hurt, ask yourself, can you use this experience to set boundaries, to become more independent, to develop a level of self-confidence that no rejection can shake? Pain becomes a teacher when you stop running from it and start learning from it. 4. Practicing equanimity. Family drama thrives on reaction. The more emotional you become, the more power they have over you. But if you remain calm, indifferent even, their actions lose their ability to affect you. Marcus Aurelius advised, if you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it. When you learn to observe rejection without being consumed by it, you gain true power. This doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop fighting reality. You stop expecting people to be different than they are. And when you stop expecting, you stop suffering. The rejection itself is not what hurts you. It's the belief that they should be different than they are. Once you let go of that belief, you find something priceless: peace. And that peace, it's worth more than any approval you were ever chasing. Section 5. The power of self-reliance. When family rejects you, the most dangerous trap you can fall into is believing that you need them, that without their approval, their love, or their support, you are somehow incomplete. This is an illusion, one that Stoicism helps us break free from. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, taught that true freedom comes from relying on yourself, not on the opinions or actions of others. No man is free who is not master of himself. In other words, as long as your happiness depends on how others treat you, you will always be a prisoner. The moment you realize you have everything you need within you, their rejection loses its power. 1. How to build a life independent of family. The idea of self-reliance can feel overwhelming, especially if your family was once your main source of emotional or financial support. But self-reliance isn't just about surviving on your own. It's about building a mindset where you no longer crave their validation. It's about recognizing that your worth is not something they can give or take away. Here's how you start. Stop seeking approval. Every time you feel the urge to prove yourself to them, pause. Ask yourself, why am I seeking validation from people who have already rejected me? The more you let go of that need, the freer you become. Develop inner confidence. Your self-worth should be based on your actions, your character, and your principles, not on what your family thinks of you. Every day, remind yourself, I define my value, not them. Create your own support system. If your family refuses to stand by you, build your own circle of support. Friends, mentors, or even a community that aligns with your values can become your new philosophical family. Seneca once wrote, one of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood. Seek out people who understand you. 2. Finding your philosophical family. In Stoicism, the idea of family is not limited to blood. The people who truly support you, who help you grow, who respect you for who you are, those people are your real family. Marcus Aurelius believed that we are all part of a greater human family, connected by shared virtues and principles. If your biological family cannot give you love, wisdom, or kindness, find those who can. Build relationships with people who inspire you, who challenge you, and who bring peace into your life. 3. Redefining success on your own terms. Many people struggle with family rejection because they were raised to believe that success means meeting their family's expectations. But what if success is something you define for yourself? A Stoic does not measure success by external approval. Success is living with integrity, staying true to your values, and mastering your own mind. If your family rejects you because you refuse to conform, that is not your failure, it is theirs. They have failed to see your worth. You have not failed to be worthy. True self-reliance means reaching a point where their opinions do not shape your path. The moment you stop waiting for their acceptance is the moment you become truly free. Section 6. Forgiveness versus indifference. The Stoic approach to moving on. Once you've accepted your family's rejection and embraced self-reliance, the next challenge is deciding how to move forward. Should you forgive them? Should you try to repair the relationship? Or should you let go entirely and become indifferent to them? Stoicism does not demand that you forgive blindly. It also does not encourage hatred. Instead, it teaches a balanced approach, one that prioritizes your peace above all else. 1. The difference between true forgiveness and emotional detachment. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, does not mean excusing harmful behavior or pretending nothing happened. It simply means releasing yourself from the burden of resentment. Seneca wrote, anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. If you hold on to anger toward your family, who suffers, your peace is disturbed. Your energy is wasted on people who have already made their choice. Forgiveness, in this sense, is not for them, it is for you. It is a way of freeing yourself from the weight of their actions. But here's the key. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. You can forgive someone without allowing them back into your life. If a family member is toxic, abusive, or unwilling to change, Stoicism teaches that the best response is indifference. 2. When to walk away and when to seek reconciliation. Not every family rift needs to be permanent. Some conflicts are the result of misunderstandings, pride, or wounds that can heal over time. In these cases, it may be worth trying to reconnect. But how do you know when to walk away? The answer is simple. When staying in the relationship causes you more harm than good, if they continuously disrespect you despite your boundaries, walk away. If they refuse to acknowledge their role in the conflict, walk away. If they manipulate, belittle, or undermine you, walk away. Walking away doesn't mean you hate them. It means you value your own peace more than their dysfunction. 3. Finding peace without closure. One of the hardest things about family rejection is that it often comes without closure. You may never get an apology. You may never hear them say, "I was wrong." But Stoicism teaches that closure is something you create for yourself, not something you wait for from others. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You have to assemble your life yourself, action by action. You do not need their permission to heal. You do not need their understanding to move forward. You can decide right now that their rejection is no longer something you carry." Fool. Letting go of the need to be understood. One of the deepest desires we have as humans is the desire to be understood. But sometimes, the people we want to understand us the most never will. The final step in freeing yourself is letting go of this need. Accept that they may never see things the way you do. Accept that they may never acknowledge your pain, and then move forward anyway, because at the end of the day, your life is yours, not theirs. And the sooner you release yourself from the need for their approval, the sooner you step into the peace and strength that was always within you. And that is true freedom. Conclusion. Rewriting your story, thriving beyond rejection. Family rejection can feel like the ultimate betrayal. It shakes you, makes you question your worth, and leaves wounds that take years to heal. But if there's one thing Stoicism teaches us, it's that suffering is not meant to break us. It's meant to shape us. You are not defined by the people who walked away. You are not less worthy because your family failed to see your value. In fact, their rejection might just be the catalyst for your greatest transformation. Many of the most resilient, powerful people in history have walked this same path. They were misunderstood, cast aside, and left to fend for themselves. But instead of letting rejection destroy them, they used it as fuel. They found strength in solitude, clarity in hardship, and purpose beyond the limitations of their past. Maybe that's what this moment is for you. A breaking point, yes, but also a beginning. A chance to step into a version of yourself that is no longer dependent on the love or approval of people who were never capable of giving it in the first place. This is not about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong or hoping they'll regret how they treated you. It's about something much greater: freedom. The freedom to define your own worth, to build a life that fulfills you, to surround yourself with people who truly see and appreciate you. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. If your family rejected you with cruelty, do not let it turn you bitter. If they treated you with indifference, do not let it harden your heart. Instead, rise above it. Become the person they failed to be. Show yourself the love they withheld." Rejection, no matter how painful, does not have to be your ending. It can be the very thing that sets you free. Because in the end, your worth is not written in their words or their actions. It is written in the way you choose to live. So live well, not to prove anything to them, but to show yourself that you were always enough,